subscribe our channel. Stay till the end of the stories for more twist and turn. Comment us about what kind of stories you like to hear. Disclaimer: the channel is not in any kind of support or link to behavior, remarks, statements, feeling, decisions or any kind of emotions in the stories. My 32 male wife, 32 female, has stopped showing affection and interest to our daughter, 5 female, and I don't know what to do. My wife and I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. Since our son has been born, my wife has completely changed her attitude towards our daughter, to the point where I feel like she barely loves her anymore. It's heartbreaking for me to watch and I just can't seem to make her see it. Now my wife has never been the disciplinarian. It has always been me. I just realized early on she couldn't do it, so it was left up to me. I'm the one who has to send her to timeout for misbehaving etc. Before our son was born, she would always argue that I was too hard on her. I don't really see it that way. One parent at least has to correct the kids. I've been in a situation where we were looking at appliances and my daughter started kicking and punching a washer because she didn't like being there. I don't put up with stuff like that. I have to tell her to cut it out. My wife will never say anything and will sometimes tell me I'm causing a scene and I shouldn't say anything to her. This initially made her very close to her mother and not so much to me. But over the years, I have seen a very positive effect of it on my relationship with my daughter. We have a lot of fun together, we have inside jokes, we laugh and play all the time. I make sure I take time out of my day just to spend time with her. But she also knows when to listen to me. Not to say she listens to me all the time, but she has learned what is too much. On the other hand, since our son was born, she has started really misbehaving with my wife and giving her a lot of attitude. And part of it is because my wife has just completely started ignoring her. Here are things that I have noticed. 1. They don't have any playful conversations or fun times anymore. Not around me anyway. My wife insists they do, but I haven't seen it in a long time. 2. My wife's body language and tone with her are simply like she's just fed up of her. She talks to her only like, for God's sake finish your food, you have been eating for hours, when are you gonna learn? And clean up your mess, I am not a maid. It's honestly tough to watch at this point. She doesn't even start talking to her in a nice way and build up to being stern. That's just how she talks to her now. She will do things like hold her head and say, God, I'm so tired of this, I can't wait till you're older. I'm the exact opposite of this. I'm always playful and fun with her, but if she doesn't listen I'll have to put on my stern voice. And usually, she listens and we go back to being playful. A few days ago my daughter asked me that she wanted to go buy ice cream. She said, don't tell mommy. I thought it was because she thought she'd get in trouble and I told her it was fine. But she insisted it was a secret. So I played along and we got ice cream and she said she wanted to make a milkshake for mommy. And I was like, can I have some too? And she said nope, it's just for mommy. So I was just playing around with her going, hey, no fair, how come I can't have any? And she said, well it's a secret surprise milkshake for mommy so that she can be happy again. She got mad at me again today. Honestly, I cannot tell you how hard it was for me to hold back tears. Since then I've just been spending so much time with her and trying to keep her happy. But I'm literally watching her relationship with her mother get destroyed in front of my eyes. I talked to my wife about it. We have talked about it before and she blames me for it. She says it's because I'm strict with her and I shouldn't be so strict with her. She said the same this time and brushed off the whole thing. For the last week, my daughter's been asking me to put her to sleep. Usually I put my son to sleep and my wife used to put my daughter. Recently I find that when I go into her room, my wife's on her phone and my daughter is lying there. Instead of reading her a story, she lets her watch an episode of a cartoon or something before bed. I just don't know how to get through to her that she's ruining things with our daughter and soon it will come to a point where it can't be mended. She's perfectly fine with my son, she shows him so much affection and love. She has all kinds of cute names for him. I can't even remember the last time she kissed or hugged our daughter. There's a big difference there, and frankly, I'm only telling you half of what she says to her. But I can't seem to convince her at all that there's something wrong with the way she's dealing with this. She always turns it around and says I'm the one who gets upset at her when she misbehaves. This is true, but like I keep saying, I just tell her what she's doing is wrong and there will be consequences. Whereas the stuff my wife says, while doesn't get my daughter in trouble, I think is worse than sending her to her room for 10 minutes. I know people will ask me if I'm helping around the house. I do my best. My wife doesn't work and I work in construction, so I'm usually gone latest by 7 a.m. and back by 5ish. I play with the kids when I get back. I make meals sometimes. But since I'm at work all day, it is true that my wife does more of the housework. She usually asks me to take the kids when I get back, and I will usually either take them to our patio or go to the store or something. In my life situation, I am your daughter, and let me tell you, it's horrible. I'm 24, female BTW, my mom adores my brother and it's a common joke in the family that he's the golden child. He gets into trouble for nothing, while if I did the same thing, I'd be screamed at. My mom hugs and kisses my brother, male 18, constantly and is always calling him handsome, wonderful, etc. I can't tell you the last time she hugged or complimented me. It has literally been years. I'll give you an example. My brother always takes the clean washing out of the dryer and dumps it onto the floor to put in a single t-shirt of his because he doesn't want to iron, and then leaves the washing on the floor when he's done. It's ridiculous, I know. My mom always goes crazy about it, but she waits until he leaves the house to do so. Not long ago, she was having a meltdown about this and I finally snapped and asked, "Why are you shouting at me? You know it's not me who does it. You know it's my brother." Her response was, "Well, you do it sometimes." Me, I have never done it and you know that. Go on, say it was him. She physically couldn't say it and just walked out of the room. Another time, my mom had her friends over and I took all their coats and chatted to them for at least half an hour before my brother came out to his room to say hi. When they thought I wasn't listening, my mom went on and on about how proud she was of my brother for being so polite and well-spoken. Her friends all agreed and started complimenting him. I took my dog outside and cried on the street. It's not nice feeling invisible. This kind of experience is what is in store for your daughter, and it's horrible. I've known he was the favorite since he was born. Funnily enough, I was 5 just like your daughter. There have been many times when I wondered why I'm not good enough or why my mom loved me less. My dad definitely tried to make up for her lack of interest in me, but sometimes a daughter just wants her mom, you know? I would suggest family therapy. I know you mentioned in another comment she wouldn't want to do it, but you need to beg, plead and demand until she gives in. To this day, I have severe self-worth issues. I feel worthless and outcast often, and my therapist agrees it traces back to my mom's treatment. I never feel good enough, and although I love my brother deeply, I do feel a deep, angry resentment every time I'm with him and my mom. To this day, she denies her favoritism and it truly hurts our relationship. Your daughter is still young, but you're already seeing the effects of her mother's treatment. The milkshake thing was heartbreaking and I know exactly how she felt then. It was a maybe mommy will love me again plea. I did that plenty of times too. So please make your wife see what she's doing, because that sweet little girl of yours deserves so much better than she's currently in for. Edit. Thank you so much for the silver. My first ever Reddit award, wow. Edit 2. Thank you for the hugging award, kind stranger. This really upsets me because it makes me wonder if it's also a sexist thing. Plus I've tried for years to have a good relationship with my mom, but I'm deemed a failure because I haven't given her grandchildren. Families are tough, man. I think it is a sexist thing. My family were the same with me and my brother. He was the golden child, could do no wrong in their eyes, where I got whined at for the tiniest things. I asked my mom about it once and you know what she said? It's because he's male. Like WTF does that even mean because he's male? That all changed when he lost his license to drink driving law. Opened their eyes to see that he was not intact. Perfect smiles. Damn, I'm sorry. I'm sure my mother would take you in. My mom made mistakes like every other parent, but she never ever played favorites, and if there was an incident, we called her out and she'd apologize and wouldn't do it again. Like you, my mom and my dad treats me like an outcast and has shown that they love me less. I have an older brother and a twin sister. My mom and dad always praise them and wants to spend more time with them over me. It's very heartbreaking, and I've done everything to try to get close to my parents, but they just don't like me. My dad just told me 2 weeks ago that he didn't like me and wanted me to move out. I'm in the process of moving out. So I completely understand you. I think this is so much more common than people realize. I, myself, am guilty of this. When my newest daughter was born, my oldest daughter had a rough time with it. She had been my baby for so long that she didn't adjust well. Her way of dealing with this was to act out. I was so exhausted from having a new baby that I would get upset with her. It was a bad cycle. The more upset I would get with her, the more she would misbehave for attention. Honestly, I didn't see what was happening until I found an article online about it. Another mom wrote about her experience and it really opened my eyes. I realized that my little girl was so confused. One day, she was my whole world, and the next, she had to share me with a whole other person. She had no say in this change. Her whole world just tipped upside down. It sounds like your wife is caught in the same cycle. I don't know what it will take for her to see it. Hopefully, she will soon, because it takes a long time to rebuild. I started spending more one-on-one time with my oldest. I noticed that her behavior began to improve as she got more of my attention. It took months before things were better. Your wife may be exhausted or even a little depressed from the new baby. It may take something big for her to get a wake-up call. I think counseling may help. It will give her an outlet to discuss her frustrations and she may gain some perspective. I think the best course of action is to put your foot down with your wife, much like you do with your daughter if she misbehaves. You need to make it abundantly clear to your wife that you discipline your daughter has nothing to do with how your daughter is feeling about your wife. You need to tell her the things your daughter says about her, to really get it through her head. Maybe even ask your daughter to tell mommy how she feels. What makes this situation worse is your wife is with her the majority of the day, and the reason your daughter acts up so much with your wife is because she wants her attention, even if it's negative. I can verify this firsthand because I had the same problem growing up with my mother. I often felt her life would be so much better without me, and I would always misbehave because that was the only attention she would give me. And for some reason, she adored my brother. You need to nip this in the bud immediately before your daughter gets older and it begins to really take a toll on her mental health. As a mother to a 7-year-old daughter, I find I expect more from her, and since I expect so little from my son, everything he does is amazing. I realized I was doing this when my daughter could listen to reason at 3, and I would hold her to the same impossibly high standards I held myself to, which is why I had depression. Therapy broke the cycle, and I'm much kinder and less critical of her. Thanks for listening so far. If story have update, we will post here. Like and subscribe to our channel for upcoming stories.